today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Pokemon market update as we always do every week. Title of my video is something like, has my investing strategy changed when it comes to buying Pokemon cards? And it kind of has, and I'll explain that a little bit in this video today as we go through what's the best selling. It seems to be, people are worried about a top and all that stuff, and the market is going crazy, no doubt about that. But it seems to be the general sentiment is the trend is your friend until it's not. And right now, things are still trending up, up, up. So as long as we continue to see that, I'm not panic selling anything I have yet, especially with the holidays coming up. I'm really trying to get as much inventory as I can so that I can be ready for the big holiday season. So as we do every week, we'll sort the TCG player by best selling and see what singles and sealed products we've got and where they're going in the market, kind of look at what opportunities there are, what plays I'm making. As always, I do this every week, so subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Like this video if you like this sort of content. It goes a long way with the algorithm. I appreciate you guys. Let's jump right into it. We'll start here with some Sword and Shield cards that are on the front page. I don't normally talk about them, but they are making a little bit of moves. The Gengar VMAX, the Giratina V, and the Umbreon VMAX. Again, all from Sword and Shield and all making big moves. If we look at the Gengar here, it was down here. We look at the 3-month chart, it was down to $584 3 months ago, and now it's shooting up to $744, the market price, with recent sales around $844, $844 were the last two. And then before that, $875, $879, $849. So pretty comfortably around $850. If we look at the active listings, it looks like most of them are, but it's interesting because there's some listed for around 700, but it's non-verified sellers and all that stuff. So the highest one that's from an actual seller is $875, which is pretty crazy. Again, if you've been following the channel, you know that I don't like chasing. So if you have one of these from your Sword and Shield days, that's amazing. It'll be fun to watch this on the CollectR app and see the value keep going up. I'm not chasing into it or anything like that, but especially with the Gengar set coming out, no surprise that's doing well. The Giratina V, this one is also doing very well. It was, again, 3 months ago down under $500, and now we're looking at a market price of around $589. Pretty quick run up with sales around $650, $650, two sales for $609 and right under $600, so I'm not sure if those had any whitening or anything. There were pictures with those two, but it looks like there are two listed at $600, but they're, again, not with verified sellers. The next lowest from a verified seller is this $650, so continuing to go up, and they're all following the same little trend of back in February, they made their really big run up, and then they've just been dropping ever since February down to about August. And now ever since August, they're starting to trend back up. So it'll be interesting to see if they come up and retest these February highs, if they blow through those, or if there's some sort of resistance there and they come back down. The Umbreon VMAX is the one that was making a whole bunch of noise. I noticed this one on my last week's video, that it was going through a little bit of a buyout. And it's interesting, if you look at most recent sales, it looks like there has not been a sale of this card since those sales back on 9/10. So on 9/10, there were sales of just under $3,000, $2,999 for all of these. But then since the 10th, there's only been two sales, and they've both been PSA 10. So no raw copies have sold. It's showing a market price of $2,130 right now, $2,130. With the most recent listings, people have come to market and said, hey, I've got this card after this run up. If you want it for $2,100, you can have it. So there are two listings for $2,100 right at the new market price. But again, nothing is sold for the last 10 days, which is pretty crazy to see. If you look at the chart, it's pretty weird. You can see September 10th and then 0 items sold, 0 items sold. So that's why the chart has just gone sideways, because it's sort of at a stalemate, when this card was $1,300 last month and now just shot up to $2,100. So it'll be interesting to see if they start selling at this $2,100 mark, or if people keep listing and undercutting until we get to a price where people will buy at. The Mew EX, the Bubble Mew from Paldean Fates, this one is actually starting to come down a little bit. Again, it hit the all-time high of $700 last week, again in that September 10th, September 13th range. And now it's come down since then to around $650. You can see recent sales of $656, $657, $656. So this one's interesting. It seems like it hit a little bit of a wall and is coming down. And there's even one listed for $622 from a verified seller. So this one is coming down a little bit, and it's interesting. It might be people selling off this one that got pumped and moving into Sword and Shield, which hasn't gotten pumped yet. So again, it's kind of interesting, and I'm not chasing these because, as I said, this one just got pumped up so much so quickly that I don't like chasing these cards. I could see this coming down probably to around the $450 to $550 mark. Again, a lot of times these big cards like this, they have a low down here of around $300 the last 3 months, shoots all the way up to $700, and then finds a mid-range somewhere in between those two prices, and then kind of stays there for a little while until it gets pumped the next time. So it'll be interesting to see this one. I'm watching it but not buying it. 151 Ultra Premium Collection. 151 is continuing to go absolutely crazy. This is showing a market price of just under $600, but when you look at most recent sales, you've got 644, 600, and 615. So pretty comfortably above $600. And if you look at listings, the reputable sellers are at 630, 640. They're right around that $640 mark for the 151 Ultra Premium Collection that was $80 probably 2 years ago and sitting on shelves, or you get it from TikTok deals. Just crazy to see where this is going. But again, this was exactly my point. I'm not chasing this, but I'm not selling the one that I have. I'm just going to continue to watch this and see where it goes. As of now, it's showing no signs of slowing down anytime soon. You'll notice the volume here has definitely gone down, but it just seems like whenever one gets listed at a new higher price, it just gets bought up so that another one gets listed. So there's less sales, but it is moving the price up a little bit with each sale that goes on. So 151 continuing to go crazy. Lost Origin booster box. Again, Sword and Shield is still doing very, very well. It shows a market price of $822. Most recent sales are actually $780, $779, $797, and $799. So actually the most recent sales are under $800 in a market price of $822. So it looks like this one might be hitting a little bit of a wall. And when you keep an eye on some of these boxes that have had high flyers, this is exactly what I'm talking about. People on Pokemon investing, Pokemon YouTube space, Pokemon Reddit, they're throwing out crazy price targets with no basis. I mean, they're just saying, oh, it's gone from $500 3 months ago to $800 here. Therefore, it'll be a $1,500 box come Christmas just because I want it to be. So there's a lot of people just making crazy claims like that. Whereas there's also a world where this stays stagnant at $800 until Christmas. And there's just a lot of people with a lot of confidence in the Pokemon investing space right now. And it's, I don't want to say dangerous. It's just like exuberance is just with any sort of market bubble, any market euphoria. It's just people going crazy and throwing out these crazy price targets that may or may not come true. You know, they're obviously not printing any more Lost Origin, but at $800, there's a lot more things you can get for your collection, for investment. And so there's just a lot of other places people with money will go rather than these Sword and Shield booster boxes that have got pretty expensive. So there is definitely a world where these stay stagnant for a little while, especially because, as I was mentioning with 151, it's the same with all of these. The volume of sales is dropping on these. And normally, like I said, they're just getting replaced at higher prices, but it looks like with Lost Origin, they're actually getting undercut, which means the volume is not there to sustain the higher prices going forward. So with a lot of these boxes that have run up, you could see some stagnation. And I would even say there's probably less chance it happens with booster boxes and much more likely chance it happens with the single cards or the PSA 10 copies of the cards. But even that might be up subject to change, because when you look around, the general sentiment is you only invest in booster boxes and sealed product and you don't invest in raw cards or PSA 10 prices. So people might have been selling off their PSA 10s to buy these boxes. And now when they see PSA 10 prices go crazy, they might think, oh, hey, wait, I never got that Bubble Mew and I really wanted it. Let me sell off my Lost Origin box so I can buy a Bubble Mew. So we might see some weird things happening there with the fact that Sword and Shield booster boxes in general have run so far so fast. People might start taking profits on those as we get towards the holiday season to help pay for gifts for others or pay for their own collection pieces that, you know, they might be missing out on or feeling FOMO on now as single cards are actually going crazy. So we'll be keeping an eye on those for sure. The other one, the next set to release, comes out in 2 weeks, Mega Evolutions Enhanced Booster Box. This one has come down a little bit. This was up to around $300. This one's been crazy because it was down to about $232. And then there was rumors of the delays and the staggered release schedule on this, and it shot it all the way up to about $300. It has since come down to about $280. And you can find these, I pre-ordered two, one from Game Nerds and one on eBay, for about $250 each, and I'm good with that. And the reason is I would rather have the Mega Evolution 2 set that has Charizard and Gengar. Even though it's a smaller set, I think that will be a better set going forward. I just think there's more to chase in that set rather than this one with Lucario, Gardevoir, Venusaur. I think those are kind of a step below. They're not quite S tier like Charizard and Gengar, so I think that could hold back Mega Evolutions a little bit. So personally, I'm just waiting on Mega Evolution 1. I would rather buy Mega Evolutions 2. Celebrations UPC, again, I think Celebrations will continue to do well through the 30th anniversary. This one has a market price of $823, but most recent sales of $969, $875, $850. So interesting to note, though, that those were old sales. Looks like this one hasn't had a sale either since 9/9. So about a week or so of no sales, but that last sale was at $969. So when we look at what ones are listed, there's $934, $929, $939. So it looks like right around that last sale price, just a little bit lower. So I could see this doing very well through the 30th anniversary at least. But again, this has always been a favorite of mine. This was actually the first investment product I ever bought because I loved the idea of those metal gold cards in there. The Charizard and the Pikachu are so cool. that I thought this was a very good set. I think this will do very well long term in general. But again, at $1,000, there's just a lot you can get with $1,000. But I think this will continue to do well through the 30th anniversary at least. Chilling Reign booster box. We'll look at the booster boxes real quick, but again, it's gonna fall. My Sword and Shield statements that I talked about with Lost Origin are gonna be sweeping statements about all of these. I could see all of these boxes staying stagnant for a little while because they've run up so fast. It looks like most recent sales on this 554, 560, but again, those were last week, so not really selling through a whole bunch unopened. Market price of $572. So even those recent sales are a little bit lower than the most recent sales, and no sales in the past week. So interesting to see this one kind of going sideways. But again, I could see that happening here as we get into the holiday season. Prismatic Evolutions booster bundles. I think these are really good. I think Prismatic Evolutions, that's kind of the theme of my opening statement. Again, there's no prismatic products. This is the only prismatic product on the first page. I personally think Prismatic Evolutions is the play going forward. I think that's the best place to be putting your money right now. If you look at the volume chart on this, insane volume on these going forward as they get down to $55. I mentioned that the 151 booster bundles got down to around $40, $45, but with the demand for Prismatic Evolutions, I'm just not sure those get this low. So if you don't have any of these and you're not willing to spend $100 on a ETB, I think these might be a decent play. I personally think ETBs would be better than bundles at these prices, but if you don't want to drop $100 on an ETB, I understand that. This is a little bit of a less size, less money invested, and just a little bit safer of a product. I think these will do fine. Again, any prismatic you can get your hands on. With people selling those Sam's Club and Costco drops that just dropped this week, I think those are a screaming buy as well. If you can find any of those, we'll talk about those on the other side. But if you can get any of those, it comes out to like $7 or $8 per pack basis. Even if you're getting them on the secondary market, obviously if you can get them from Costco or Sam's, do that, because these Prismatic Evolutions at MSRP is just a no-brainer. Even if they continue to print it and it goes down to MSRP, so what? I mean, you'll be holding this for maybe 2 years, and then eventually they'll be done printing it, and eventually the set will go pretty crazy. So I think Prismatic Evolutions right now is the best place to be putting your money, with 151 making the run that it has been on. And that's the first time since doing these market updates that I'm kind of making that switch. Destin Rivals booster boxes at $400 is absolutely crazy. And when you look at most recent sales, they're still selling. I mean, this is today, $397, $397, $397. So, I mean, just absolutely insane that these are almost $400. But again, what I was mentioning in my last video, when you look at rip and shippers, people are buying these and then selling them on stream for $12, $13, $14 a pack. And people are willing to buy them. Destin Rivals is just that good of a set. And the booster box premium, so interesting to see, because like it seems like there's not enough booster boxes to go around, so people aren't opening these booster boxes. They're becoming the premium product, almost like a collector box in the Magic the Gathering space. So when you have sort of both of those things pulling at each other, I do think Pokemon will print a ton of collection boxes for the holiday season that'll bring the per pack price down, and that'll give rip and shippers something to rip into to get packs at a cheaper price. So that might make these boxes stagnate a little bit as those come out. And it seems like they're just not printing booster boxes enough or as much as they had in the past. So it'll be interesting to see if they continue to not print those and they continue to remain as like a premium product, or if they start printing those like crazy. So I love this set. It's my favorite set of the Scarlet Violet era. I have 4 of these boxes myself. I picked up at about $220. Again, I would be looking to buy more at like $250. But again, you say that sounds obvious because it is. This is a $400 box. Obviously, if it drops in half, you'd buy more, which is crazy to think about now. But I mean, who knows? In a year or two, they might still be printing this. And if we're on Mega Evolutions or Gen 10, and Gen 10's got holographic lenticular cards that come out with alt arts of shiny Pokemon, like there's just so many crazy things that they could do that when you look at Destin Rivals, you might think, oh, that's an old set. Nobody cares about that anymore. And the prices might come down on that. But realistically, I could see even reprints, I would guess, only bring this down to like $300. So, and that would be with a pretty sizable reprint. But again, you never know. That far into the future, it's hard to say. But at $400, it's going to take a lot for this to get down to $200, let alone MSRP. I think that ship might have sailed already. 151 booster bundles. This is exactly what I was talking about. 151 already making its move. Looks like the chart for this is messed up. The 1 month chart, it's already up 24%, up to $95 a bundle, with recent sales of $88, $89, $90. So right around $90, it looks like, for a bundle. And I don't know if that includes shipping or not in these prices. It looks like someone bought 20 bundles for $97.99, which is crazy. I still think 151 is very good if you don't have any. Even at $100, I don't think this is a bad play, especially considering how much the 151 ETB has run up. So if you don't have any of this, I would say to look at these booster bundles. I was telling you to buy them 3 months ago when they were $70, but if you missed the boat and here you are now, I still think these make sense at $100 if you don't have any. Me personally, I have about 25 of these, which is enough for me. So I'm passing on these. Again, I'm putting my monies. If I'm spending $100 on one product, it's going to be a Prismatic Evolutions ETB or one of those boxes from Sam's Club that comes with 14 packs. But the argument on the other side is that 151 shouldn't get much more reprints, if any, and Prismatic could get it for a whole nother year. So I still think these make sense here. If you don't have many, if any, I'd be looking to pick up some more 151. The Umbreon EX from Prismatic Evolutions. It's interesting. This one did make a little bit of a pop. It was down to $840 and then popped up to $888. Let's see, most recent sales around, looking like $1,000. I'm not sure if someone's trying to pump the price. The 3 most recent sales are around $1,000, but the low list on here is right at $1,000. So it looks like this one is coming up, but again, with all of the ones that just got printed from the Sam's Club Premium Collection box with Tyranitar and whoever else, Lucario maybe, and then the Costco tin drop, I think these prices will continue to come down just because there's going to be so much more that's open. I mean, if you're seeing the lines of people out there, the amount of product that's actually at these stores, there's a ton of this product out there, and it's going to be getting ripped by some of those people who are buying this product. So there will be a lot more of these that come out just with this card being pulled, or demigod packs or god packs. I expect this to keep falling. I know it's been falling like crazy. I mean, you look at 40% over its lifespan, but I still think it can continue to come down, even though it's had a little bit of a pump. I think this could be a little bit of a head fake before people start pulling more from those boxes from Sam's Club and Costco. So I'd be weary of buying this on this pump. Charizard EX, again, continuing to run up. 151 singles. If you don't have them, now might be the time to move in if you're looking to buy a master set, just because these cards are getting harder and harder to find with less and less reprints. Most recent sales, 329, 307, and 330. So right around probably 315 average, something like that. Market price of right around $300. The low list being $289. So low list is under $300. But again, most people don't have very many sales. There's one reputable seller at $289, and the rest of the reputable sellers don't pop up until $350, $340. So if you want to take a chance, it looks like this is around $300. But if you're looking for a binder copy, you're looking to complete a master set, might not be a bad time to pick it up. I know it is at an all-time high. The previous one was again back here in February with all the other pumps at $290. But 151 obviously being reprinted less and less as we go forward. So this card will continue to command a premium just because it's Charizard, and 151 is that good of a set. So all of the 151 cards going crazy. I mentioned buying this 3 months ago, but I'm done buying them now. The only way I'll buy another one is if it grades a 10 and I can sell off the 10 and then buy more to keep the play rolling. So I've kind of put my purchases of those on hold just because they run up so much. Evolving Skies booster boxes, you know my opinion on this. It's the same thing with all the Sword and Shield. I do think this has run up like crazy, and I could see it going sideways for a little while. But having said that, I've been wrong ever since. I think last year it was like a $700 box, and I said it was too expensive and I'm not chasing. I've been wrong ever since then. So I could continue to be wrong on this, and I'm totally fine with that. I'm not going to be able to buy everything. I'm not going to be able to have everything, despite the slogan of gotta catch them all. I'm just not going to be able to. So I'm totally comfortable with that. For $2,700, there's so many other things I'd rather buy, either for investment purposes or for my personal collection. That's a lot of money for me. So recent sales, though, the last 2 days, $2,600 and $2,700. So it looks like it's still right up there at market price of $2,500, but it's still definitely going up. Anything else? The Victini on this page, the Victini from the collection box. This promo's pretty good. I was mentioning buy it down here at $7. Now it's shot up to $15. Again, at $15, I think there's better promo cards like the Snorlax from the 151 ETB, just because that one comes out of a $300 ETB. This comes out of like a $40 box. So with this card, I'd almost rather you buy the box for $40 and keep the packs to the side and then just have the Victini card from there. But Charizard V-Star promo card from the Charizard UPC at $68 market price. That's pretty crazy. I don't know if this has gone up. I know it had been going up like crazy, but yeah, $69 is not its, I guess it's right at its high. It was at 68 like a week ago at the beginning of the month. Most recent sales at 70, 65, 68. So still right there around that $68 mark. It will be interesting to see where it goes from here, if it keeps running up or if it has a little bit of stagnation. It looks like it's going to keep running up though, especially a card this popular as we get more people into the space, they're going to see this card that weren't in the game 2 years ago when these were $5 a card, thinking, hey, I want that card to go with my Mewtwo from Crown Zenith. I need it. I'm not buying more of these, but I'm holding the ones that I have. I do have a few raw and a PSA 10 copy of this. 151 booster pack. This is the one I was screaming at you to buy for the last 3 months. And in the last 3 months, it's gone up 36%. So you ask Parrish, is this still a buy? Maybe. Again, if you don't have any 151 exposure, I still think 151 booster packs will do very well. I could see this. I talked about people pulling price targets out of thin air, and I'm going to do the same thing here, but I could see this running up to like $20 by the end of the year, and people will say, whoa, when did that happen? 151 booster packs were just $10 for the longest time. I remember being able to pick them up from Blooming Waters forever. Just last year in August, they were $10.57 because Blooming Waters were still readily available. Well, now, instead of printing Blooming Waters, they're printing Prismatic Evolutions. And that means that these 151 booster packs are getting harder and harder to find. And that is the exact reason why 151 singles are starting to go up too, because there's less people ripping these, so there's just less of these being opened, less of these being transacted, and the people that have them just keep moving that sales price up a little by little. So the same thing is happening with these booster packs, showing at market price now $14. Yeah, when I was telling you to get them for 10. And it's interesting here, you even look at today's sales, 100 packs sold for $16.50. So people aren't scared of the downside on 151 because it's that good of a set. Rip and shippers need it. Rip and shippers are probably charging 20 bucks now, so they're 15 on TCG Player. And people will probably still buy that for 20 bucks. Again, people are buying Evolving Skies at 30, so why wouldn't they buy 151 with better hit rates and arguably better artwork from 151 for, less of a price? So I could see 151 continuing to do well, but you should have been making your move 3 months ago. However, if you haven't, I could still see this making sense to pick up more if you don't have any already. Me personally, I've got what I've got. I've got a whole bunch of loose packs from all the Blooming Waters that I broke down. I've got some ETBs that I'm still sitting on. I'm still going to be sitting on everything, but moving away from the purchases. I was buying 1 to 2 Blooming Waters a week. Now I'm taking that $100 and instead buying Prismatic Evolutions Elite Trainer boxes for that $100 mark. Surging Sparks booster box making a little move. I said I bought one of these at $250. Now it looks like it's up 12% in the last 3 months. I bought for $250. It looks like market price of $260, with most recent sales at $264, $249, at $260. So again, right around that $250 mark. But I still think this is the third best set of the era. And if you look at prices of all the other boxes in Scarlet and Violet era, not looking at Destined Rivals and Paldea Evolved, which are run far away from the others, when you're looking at all the others in that 220, 240 to 260 range, I think Surging Sparks makes the most sense out of all of those. So that's why I picked up my one more box last month. So I'll be sitting on that one for a while. As far as anything else goes, I'm not looking to pick up any more. I just want to pick up one of these on the reprint. So that's what I did there. Destined Rivals Elite Trainer boxes, I'm waiting for these to be reprinted. I do think that once Pokemon Company moves away from printing Prismatic Evolutions, they'll roll into the next set. And I think Destined Rivals will be one that they plan on printing a lot of, just because they have to know the demand for the Team Rocket set will be super high. So I would expect these to be hitting, the same. Right now we're getting hit with Twilight Masquerade and Surging Sparks reprints on ETBs. They're hitting your Costco's, they're hitting your Sam's, they're hitting GameStops. I think once they're done printing those, the next one will be Destined Rivals. Whether that's in 3 months or 6 months, I'm not sure, but I do expect to see some of these. I'll plan on picking up a lot of those because I do really love A, Destined Rivals, but B, this ETB specifically, just because of how it looks. The black on red looks really cool. Mewtwo on the front, the Team Rocket R. It's just a very iconic ETB, and I think that'll do very, very well long term. So I'll be looking to pick these up, but at $100, 2 times MSRP. Me personally, I'm picking up booster bundles of Destined Rivals, and I'll explain that, but not the ETBs. I'll be waiting on the ETBs. Twilight Masquerade Elite Trainer boxes, this is exactly what I was talking about. I don't necessarily think Destined Rivals will come down to $68, which is where this market price is for Twilight Masquerade, but I could see it doing something very similar to this. Look, Twilight Masquerade last month was $97, $98, the same thing as Destined Rivals. Now, Destined Rivals is a much better set than Twilight Masquerade, so don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is it could have a very similar trajectory in that it was going up, 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 and then as soon as we got hit with all the reprints, it came down like crazy, down to 70, 65, 70, 70. And look at the volume on these charts. So people are picking these up at $70, which makes sense. Again, if you're looking for something to rip, Twilight Masquerade at 70 bucks might make sense, especially when black and white sets are still at like 90 to 100 bucks for an ETB. So if you can pick this up or Surging Sparks, I think these make sense, especially if you're looking for something to open right now. Me personally, I think there's better sets, so I'm not touching Twilight Masquerade, but I am using this as a use case for something that could happen with Destined Rivals. Once they move away from printing this, again, Pokemon's print runs are usually 6 months behind. So you got to think they're printing Twilight Masquerade and Surging Sparks now. In 6 months, we could definitely see that shift to be Destined Rivals. So I'm being patient on Destined Rivals in general. These are the exact Prismatic Evolutions, Lucario and Tyranitar boxes that I'm saying if you can find these locally. I mean, 14 packs for $100 comes out to like under $8 a pack for Prismatic Evolutions. That seems crazy to me. Again, for $100 at this point in time, I'd rather have an ETB, just because an ETB comes with sealed premium, but it only comes with 9 packs, whereas this thing comes with 14 packs. So for the same price, you get 5 more packs. The problem is storing these is awful, or if you break it down, you've just got some loose packs that you got to store. But I still think loose packs will sell very well in the future, especially with ripping shippers. Again, if you've got good feedback, if you've got a good reputation out there, then it'll be fine selling these in the future, as long as you're not doing anything shady with them. At $100 for these, I think these are a really good buy, especially now they're being flooded. You can find them everywhere in Sam's Club. I think buying them from flippers can actually make sense, assuming you want to hold on to them long term. Paldea Evolved, we'll just touch on it quickly again. Paldea Evolved and Destined Rivals are the two that are running away. I mean, this one had no sales in the last 3 days, but $485 was the most recent sale on this with a market price of $459. That just seems crazy. Again, I know it's probably not getting reprinted, but with $500, there's just better products out there. In fact, I'd almost rather go to Sword and Shield. I think Silver Tempest is probably the same price as this. I don't know. I just don't get the love for Paldea Evolved. I know the Magikarp is great and Gen Mint 10 sucks, but beyond that, it's all Gen 9 Pokemon, and I thought Gen 9 Pokemon weren't people's favorite. I don't know. Me personally, I love Gen 9. I love the Pokemon in it, but it seemed like it got so much hate when it came out, even for the new Pokemon designs. People thought they were lazy or whatever. So I'm not sure why this set is the poster child of Scarlet and Violet when Gen 9 Pokemon weren't the best. That one just seems overvalued to me, but Mew EX continuing to go crazy, $69. I'll stop clicking on these. I'll just go through them. 151 booster bundle display. Sitting at a market price of $1,300. Again, that's come down. We were looking at it at like $1,900 and then $1,600. Now I think the sales are right around $1,400, $1,500, and they've been sitting there for a little while. We're just waiting for the market price on TCG Player to catch up. So we'll see where that one goes. Paldea Fates booster bundles at $104. Again, if you don't have any, I think this could make sense. I personally like 151 more, but if you've got a ton of 151 and you don't have any Paldea Fates, I think this could make sense. The Bubble Mew's making a run for the most expensive card in the whole era, so I think that could do well, but it's just very top heavy. There's only the 3 big chase cards, whereas 151, you've got big 3 starters, but then you've got Alakazam 151, and then you've got all the art rares, so I just personally think 151's a better set at that price point. I'd rather do that. The Surging Sparks Elite Trainer Box, again, if you can find this, pick it up. It makes a great opening experience. Another one of those iconic ETBs with Pikachu on the front. Vivid Voltage is kind of the same way. It's set for a long time, but now I think it's up to around $100 ETB. And I think a lot of that's just because of the Pikachu on the front. So at $70, this could make sense. But again, I'd almost rather have a Prismatic Evolutions booster bundle than a Surging Sparks ETB. But if you're looking for something to open, Surging Sparks, again, 3rd best set of the era. Pretty cheap ETB. I think this could make sense to pick up. Charizard EX from Paldea Fates, $300. Crazy. Again, I'm not chasing that. I was telling you to buy it at $170, $175. That's where I got mine. I'm trying to grade them. If I sell them in a 10, I might look to buy more, but this price I'm waiting. Destined Rivals cards are continuing to go up because there's just not enough being printed. Both the Cynthia's Garchomp up to $252 and the Team Rocket's Mewtwo up to $384, which is crazy. I remember selling mine extra for $370 and thought it was hot stuff. Now it's at $384. So if I had held it, I would have made more money. But that's all right. I used that money and rolled it into other things. The Mew from Crown Zenith Galarian Gallery, $45. Absolutely insane. Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer Box of Paldea Fates up to $500. Crazy. Those things are absolutely nuts. I still love the PC ETBs. Again, not at $500. I'm not buying any new ones, but I'm definitely holding the ones that I have because of how scarce those are. And because the big players aren't playing in those, I still love Prismatic Evolutions ETBs. Sword and Shield Charizard UPC at only $400. Again, we were talking about booster boxes. I'd rather have a Charizard UPC over Paldea Evolved booster box, especially when you look at almost $500 Paldea Evolved booster box. I'd have $100 left over. But the Charizard Ultra Premium Collection comes with 3 amazing promos, and those promos are about $50 each, and then a nice selection of Sword and Shield packs. So I think this Charizard UPC will do very well long term, and at $400 might be a little bit undervalued. The Charizard V Alt Art is falling into that Sword and Shield Alt Art run up to $350. Fusion Strike booster boxes selling over $1,000, but showing a market price of $993. Destined Rivals booster bundles. I did buy a case of this from Hills Wholesale Gaming. partially because I'd never used them before and I wanted to see how that worked. They've got a pretty janky website that looks like it's straight out of 1999. But if you can get past all that, there's some pretty good deals there. And I picked up a Destin Rivals booster bundle case. But in my opinion, I like booster bundles a lot more just because of the flexibility they allow. They're very easy to ship. They're very easy to sell. And you can split off into, I can either hold it as a case, or if I want to open it, I can sell off the individual booster bundles, keep some, sell some, and kind of play that by ear. It just gives me a little bit more flexibility. The Snorlax 151 promo card from the ETB, that thing is up to $18. Again, I've been saying this is my #1 buy as far as single cards go. I'm putting almost any extra money into this, and at a $20 price point, this and the Articuno from Journey Together. I think both of those are very good. But what I like about this one is it obviously comes from like a $400 ETB now, and it's a popular Gen 1 Pokemon, and art rare that goes with the 151 set. People will need it to complete master sets. So I think this card at $20 is still a buy just because it comes from a $400 box. So I could see this doing very well long term. Silver Tempest at $462 market value. Again, crazy, but I'd rather have that over Paldea Evolved. Obsidian Flames booster box at $328. Insane. I still love that set because it's a Charizard set, but it is very small. I could see Phantasmal Flames doing something like Obsidian Flames where it comes out the gate pretty hot, but then because it's so small, it sits stagnant for a while, goes down, and then 2 years later when it's out of print, people realize, oh, there's actually a Charizard set. I want this set now. And it could go up then, but I think it could have some trouble out the gate. The EV Prismatic Evolutions promo card for $12. I think this one's pretty good too, especially at half the price of the Snorlax ETB. When they were both $15, I was saying buy the Snorlax one, but now that this has come down to $12 and the Snorlax is up to $20, if you can pick these up for $10 each, I would start making moves there. Because again, I could see Prismatic Evolutions ETBs going the same way 151 ETBs. The Giratina V-Star at $206. I still think in general, Crown Zenith is a little bit underappreciated right now. People are focusing on 151 and Prismatic Evolutions. So I think there's still some opportunity in Crown Zenith with the singles and the sealed product. So if you can get your hands on any of that, it might make sense. I'm still running all of my grading plays. I'm trying to buy more Crown Zenith actually going forward because I still think there's opportunity there. The Gardevoir EX, I was mentioning I was buying this for $95 back in my previous videos, and now market price of $140, so I might actually look at moving some of those. But again, I'm going to ride the trend until it starts showing any sort of downtrend. I'll just keep riding the wave up. Prismatic Evolutions booster packs at $8.98 a pack. These are making their way towards MSRP. Dan Catch 'em All Collectibles might be right. But again, you can buy these premium collections and break them down and get these packs even cheaper. So I am starting to pick up Prismatic Evolutions booster packs as they get down and down. Again, I'll pick them up all the way from $8. If they get to MSRP, $5, $6, I would pick them up then too. So I'm starting to pick up Prismatic Evolutions more now. It's become my monthly sort of allocation for investing funds or whatever. I'm putting my money into Prismatic Evolutions now. I think now's the right time to be moving into those. Crown Zenith Boost Elite Trainer Box, $224. Again, I think that's being slept on. When you look at the Paldean Fates Elite Trainer Box, $283. So for $60 less, you can get Crown Zenith, which I think people would say they like Crown Zenith a little bit more. Paldean Fates is obviously just top heavy with that Mew. But Crown Zenith is such a fun opening experience. My favorite set of the Sword and Shield era for a reason. So I think that might be a good buy if you don't have any of those already. Stellar Crown Booster Box at $250. Again, this is exactly what I was talking about with Surging Sparks. At that price, I'd rather have Surging Sparks. Pikachu with a gray felt hat continues to do Pikachu with a gray felt hat things. People keep screaming about the population of this, 42,000 in a PSA 10, but as long as there's more than 42,000 people that want this card, it's going to continue to go up. And look at the market price shows $486 for the market price, but if you look at most recent sales, one yesterday for $699, one before that for $529, and the most recent list, $700 on TCG Player. So this one continuing to go up despite all odds, and it is an iconic card. Again, if you weren't here, people will say, well, if you were here, it was a free promo, blah, blah, blah. But if you weren't here when it was a free promo, you've got no choice than to either buy it now or pass on it. I do think eventually it'll get to a price. Maybe that price is $1,000 where people say, well, hey, I'd rather buy, the stamp box Pikachu or something like that, to where it doesn't make sense. But apparently $700 is not that price. So I'm continuing to watch this one as it goes up. Again, I've already sold off my gray felt hat Pikachus to where the one I'm holding is definitely being played with house money. So I'm just going to let that one ride for as long as I can. Articuno, if you can find it for $20, it's listed for now $22, showing a 16% increase over the last 3 months. Again, I was picking these up on eBay for $20. I love this card. I think it's criminally undervalued. When you look at this versus the Snorlax, it's a toss-up because, again, one is a promo card guaranteed, one is a harder card to hit. People aren't opening Journey Together as much, but I think either one of these makes sense, so I'm kind of picking up both to kind of hedge my bets. But this is one of my favorite cards, one of my sleeper cards of the whole era. And at 20 bucks, I think this should be in the league of the other art rares that are like $40 to $60 in the era. I think it's that good, and I think eventually it'll catch up there. It's just a matter of it being so new, and that's page 10. I'll go to just one or two more pages, see if there's anything else that jumps out at me. Ghastly for $57. The Rayquaza VMAX Trainer Gallery from Silver Tempest up to $118. That's crazy. I remember selling those for $50 all day. And again, these Trainer Galleries, I could see these art rares from $151, and like I said, the Ghastly, the Bulbasaur from $151 at $43. I could see the good art rares following the same trajectory that the Trainer Gallery cards are, where they were $50 for the longest time, and then they made a jump to $80 for the longest time, and now they're making a jump to $120. I could see these art rares doing the same thing. They're kind of sitting at 50 now. I think as they get a little bit older, 151 rotates out. I could see them going to 80, sitting there for a while. Then I could see making another run up to 120. But again, singles are obviously so volatile, but I'm running my grading plays, and these are the cards that I'm trying to pick up, are the art rares that I think will go up over time. So that way, even if I'm wrong or even if I miss the grading play, I can still sell out to sort of either make some money or break even because the card went up. And that's really all I've got. I guess I'll stop it there. I've been rambling on long enough, page 12 in here. But let me know in the comments what you guys think of this Pokemon card market. Leave me that little emoji guy with glasses if you made it this far into the video. So let me know that we're still booming and we got people watching this far into the video. I appreciate you guys. You guys are really in the niches of this. I hope you guys appreciate it as much as I do. I'm still trying to find fun in the Pokemon hobby where I can. I know it's difficult right now, but I'm trying to pick up singles, do more grading plays since I can't buy as much sealed products as I want, especially at the price I want. But again, so let me know in the comments too what you're doing to find your fun in the Pokemon hobby. What are you guys doing to stay engaged, stay with it? Because again, the real winners of investing in general are those who can stay in it the longest. And that's exactly why I'm trying to make Pokemon investing fun, because the only way you're going to win is by staying in it long term. So that's kind of what I'm doing. That's kind of my thoughts about it. But I appreciate you guys watching. Like this video if you like it. Subscribe to my channel for more Pokemon content like this, including weekly updates, so that you don't have to follow this crazy market. I can just give you a weekly update on it. I appreciate you guys watching. Have a great day. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.